excuse me, turn the lights down, and just put this on. It's right behind you.
When Hollywood went into lockdown, thousands of shoots around the world shut down abruptly.
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations.
I take responsibility.
You're not concerned
not.
Overall about some sort of a significant decline over time.
The SAG-AFTRA National Board convened and unanimously voted to issue a strike order against the studios and streamers.
Well, Hollywood is no longer the only epicenter of the film and TV industry. Now California politicians are trying to raise the incentives for studios to keep the industry here in Los Angeles.
George Clooney has endorsed Kamala Harris for President of the United States.
This is about jobs, this is about investment, and it's about recognizing and closing that the world we invented is now competing against us.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million hellions and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. We will begin this video with the end of this article. Hollywood could be a place where people go to the Walk of Fame and say, ooh, this is where people used to make movies. And this article from The Guardian is just the latest in a long line of articles chronicling Hollywood's demise, essentially saying the same thing, dating back to February. What we lose if Hollywood becomes the Detroit of the entertainment industry. Hollywood at risk of becoming the next Detroit Auto, LA production insiders voice alarm. LA insiders warn Hollywood may turn into the next Detroit. Los Angeles in danger of becoming the next Detroit as film and TV productions move out. Hollywood set to become the new Detroit as slew of flops puts city's movie industry on brink. Why Hollywood could be the new Detroit. And circling back to the latest one from The Guardian, hush over Hollywood. Why has it become so hard to make films in Los Angeles? And you may be asking yourself, why do these articles continuously come out when recently there's been some pretty big box office hits? That's a good question. Well, we'll start out with the first quarter of 2025 being 7% down from the first quarter of 2024, which was the year after the strike. And March of 2025 was down 50% from March of 2024, which again was the year after the strike. And that first quarter was loaded with flops, including but not limited to Better Man, a movie I quite liked, Captain America Brave New World, Snow White, and Mickey 17. But things have turned around in the second quarter with Minecraft, which has made over $900 million, and Sinners, which has done great domestically but somehow hasn't caught on internationally. Complete mystery as to why that happened. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that the previous two movies that I just mentioned, the only hits in America of the year, were both distributed by Warner Brothers, whose credit just got reduced to junk status. So if you're keeping track at home, through the first 4.5 months of the year, there has been one legit worldwide blockbuster and a domestic sleeper hit. But over the Memorial Day weekend, the box office popped with a live-action remake of a 20-year-old film, Lilo and Stitch, and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the 8th movie in a 30-year-old franchise. And God bless, or Scientology, God bless Tom Cruise for showing respect to the audience. More on him later. So what do these four hits have in common? None of them were filmed in Hollywood. Now, this problem has been coming on for decades, but it's almost like over the events of the last 5 years, which admittedly does include one act of God, but everything else was self-inflicted, that a lot of people who pay for films, a lot of people who make films, and a lot of people who watch them have decided they don't need Tinseltown anymore. And the numbers don't lie. This drop in the number of productions shot in Hollywood has begun to spark panic and anger within the industry. The number of productions that are shot on location in Los Angeles has dropped 30% in the last 5 years. 2024 in Hollywood recorded the lowest number of shoot days in decades, second only to the year 2020 when the entire state of California was shut down due to a cold, but yet Hollywood was allowed to work because they were deemed essential over millions of Californians, including my wife. And according to Film LA, a nonprofit that tracks local production, only 20% of the shows for North American audiences are filmed in California. Oh, and Hollywood ticket sales have declined almost 25% since 2019, still considered the last normal year of releases. But now there's a spotlight on this problem, all because the president made a single post on Truth Social and spoke about it briefly in front of a helicopter, and now Hollywood is terrified. This brings us back to the question from The Guardian. Why has it become so hard to make films in Los Angeles? Because whether they like it or not, and again, this has been happening for quite a while now, Hollywood is breaking up, and that's a good thing. And even if they wanted to bring everything back, they couldn't because they faced the biggest obstacle of them all: themselves. This brings us back to the question from The Guardian. Why has it become so hard to make films in Los Angeles? Turns out that's a pretty easy answer. Bureaucracy. Corporate bureaucracy, union bureaucracy, and government bureaucracy. Now throw in a healthy side of hyperactivism and that helps alienate the paying customer, which in turn robs you of the money you need to pay for the ever-growing list of permits, regulations, and quotas, which leads to the studios who admittedly have their own regulations and quotas looking for someplace else so they don't have to deal with as many permits, regulations, and quotas. A problem so ludicrous it's best described in a podcast between Adam Scott and Rob Lowe that's made the rounds.
It's cheaper to bring 100 American people to Ireland than to walk across the lot at Fox.
Right.
Past the sound stages and do it there.
Crazy. So weird. There's nothing shoots in Los Angeles.
Nothing.
And now things have gotten so bad, one of the contributing factors, the unions, is going to the other contributing factor, the government, for help. So let's start there, the government. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who did a bang-up job during the Palisades fire while she was in Africa, has directed the city departments to reduce red tape and cut some costs and fees and make it easier to film in city-owned properties. Well, that sounds comprehensive. I wonder how it'll work out for Tinseltown. Probably about the same as it's worked out for the Palisades fire victims, who were told essentially the same thing. And how ridiculous is the permit process? Well, here's independent producer and WGA writer Jim Agnew on Film Threat from a couple of weeks ago.
The other problem is in California, locations are so expensive. It's insane how much it costs. I just did a movie in Kentucky. We rented an entire courthouse for 2 days, and the price was $200 for the parking lot across the street and the security guards. If we had rented that same courthouse in LA County, it would have cost us probably $50,000 a day. Some new thing the city council is doing to make permits streamlined and help. It's supposed to help production. It ain't gonna do shit. It's like literally gonna affect 0.001% of the budget of your film.
And sure, that's just one of 10,000 crazy stories that are going on in Hollywood right now. And here's another from Aaron Ullman, a director and executive producer from a company called Special Order, where he chimes in from The Guardian. At one recent shoot, we had to pay a third party $2,000 to manage the city permits. At another, which was a quiet interview in someone's living room, he said, we paid $1,000 for a Film LA monitor who did not once lift his eyes from the glow of his phone. An additional $85 went to a fire marshal who never arrived. The permit itself was $900. To be fair, Mayor Karen Bass, who has done absolutely nothing about this problem while she's been in office for the last 2 years, admitted that she took the film industry for granted. And why shouldn't she? Because this moron is supported by the vast majority of the film industry. And she will absolutely get reelected as mayor. But Mayor Karen Bass has something in common with Governor Gavin Newsom, and no, it's not benefiting from those completely safe and secure mail-in ballots. He is also a moron supported by the vast majority of Hollywood, and when California had a chance to get rid of him, he won his recall election in a landslide. Big difference here is he hasn't done anything about the problems in Hollywood or California for 6 years. Now, if you want to count his time as lieutenant governor and mayor of San Francisco, he's been doing nothing about the problems of California for 20 years. Now, according to The Guardian, a large coalition of Hollywood workers is now rallying for California to increase its tax incentives from 20% to 35%. And to his discredit, Chairman Newsom has proposed more than doubling California's current film and TV tax credit program from $330 million to $750 million. But as with all things in Clownifornia, it's not that simple.
You know, I see all these people signing petitions about, let's increase the incentives and things like that. But I don't think that's going to help at all. Compare this incentive to other incentives. I don't know if you guys know this, but the above the line costs in California are not applied. So that means actors, directors, producers, none of their salaries you get any kind of rebate on or incentive.
Right.
So, and on top of that, it's also a system where it's there's a jobs formula.
There's money, you apply for this lottery, you either get it or you don't. And you told me something shocking, that production will never return to California.
I don't think it will. And there's lots of reasons for that. The big one being that above the line incentive.
And ultimately, even getting these tax breaks in California is going to be tough because you're asking them to steal less money from you when there's some major competition from other states and countries who have promised to steal less money from you. And as Jim mentioned, with the jobs program, even if they do get the tax credits, they will come with a lot of strings, like gender-neutral bathrooms and land acknowledgements.
What?
According to Variety, Hollywood has been moving backwards on diversity, while that Black Snape casting says otherwise. Amid hostility from the Trump administration, studios have ditched many of their commitments to DEI, well, not enough and not fast enough, and a recent UCLA report also showed a reversal last year in diverse representation in theatrical films after several years of gains. Well, you just hate to see it.
Sad.
But on July 1st, California will impose rules meant to ensure that the film and TV productions that receive state tax incentives hire a diverse workforce, both on screen and behind the camera. And the regulations suggest that they do things like provide gender-neutral bathrooms and issue land acknowledgements on the set to honor native tribes. I would pay good money to see Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino do a land acknowledgement.
Go the gay way. Be the gay way. Go for the gay way.
But forgive me for stating the obvious. It's probably not a real good plan for Hollywood to ask for help from the people who have presided over the disaster in California and their industry, leading to the mass exodus of both, when these government officials have no incentive because you will unquestionably vote them all back in office. And even if the president could help through the federal government, which I am completely against, by the way, y'all would rather watch your industry burn down than accept it. Did I just say y'all? I've gone native. To sum it up, Hollywood will never learn. Speaking of that, let's talk about entertainment unions, a whole separate organization filled with hyperactivism, regulations, and quotas. Some have pointed at labor cost increases as a factor in driving productions abroad. You don't say. Union leaders have pushed back at the suggestion that wins for labor in 2023's historic, well, it was historically stupid, double Hollywood strike have rebounded and contributed to the decline in Los Angeles production rates. So let's hear what they have to say. We do not believe the wage increases have anything to do with productions moving overseas or out of states, said a spokesman for the Film Actors Guild.
Are you stupid or something?
Here's just one story from Jim Agnew on Film Thread explaining how much of a pain in the ass unions can be.
I worked on a movie once where the first day of shooting, IATSE showed up, DGA showed up, not WJ didn't, but SAG did. Just representatives to make sure we were doing everything right. And we had a gaffer who was pressing a button to create the hazer, right? That's just the smoke. And they said, you can't have that guy pressing that button. So now you have to bring in a guy at $350 a day to press the button.
And here's Jim explaining how much the WGA membership has dropped since the strike.
What I've heard time and time again is there's about 12,000 people in the WGA and only half, this was even before the contraction the last year or two, about that only half of them make 45 grand or more, which is what you need to make your health insurance.
Yeah.
So, you know, that means there's only about 6,000 people really working in TV and film consistently, but now take 40% of that away. So what is it now? 3,500?
And of those remaining union members, their earnings have plunged 32%. Now, Rebecca Ryan, the executive director of the Directors Guild of America, said of Los Angeles, when it's a homegrown industry, you sometimes take a little bit for granted. You don't recognize that there's a possibility that it can dissipate or go elsewhere. I think it was maybe some arrogance and maybe some lack of foresight. Agreed. I'd also like to point out that you can apply everything Rebecca just said to every entertainment union in California, because I'm told the entertainment union's sole existence is to protect its members. And the one opportunity you had to justify your existence in the last 100 years to actually protect people from a mandated jab, you did absolutely nothing. And thanks to the entertainment union's recent actions, they have fewer members to protect. And they played right into the producers' hands. What did we say would happen after the worst time strikes in Hollywood history? Contraction, outsourcing, reduced production, and massive layoffs. And as far as AI is concerned, you didn't stop it, you cleared a path for it. And union members should be asking their leaders,
what would you say you do here?
Again, Hollywood will never learn, but it doesn't end there. Los Angeles' struggles come amid a larger contraction in the global film and TV industry, with studios pulling back from the big budget era of the streaming wars amid broader economic uncertainty. And the entertainment industry will blame everything from the president to the audience to global warming, but the truth of the matter is, it's brand damage. And while the audience's tolerance for the message, which was never that high to begin with, has completely evaporated, apparently it hasn't for portions of Hollywood. And now we have a tale of two dying Hollywoods. We have classic Hollywood with 62-year-old Tom Cruise trying to single-handedly save it. He's doing crazy stunts to promote his movies. He's out there shaking hands and kissing babies, flying around the world to meet people in movie theaters, giving people shit for eating all their popcorn before the movie starts, and practically committing career suicide by doing the unthinkable, writing a letter thanking the fans. Now this brings us to the dying woke Hollywood. While Tom Cruise was out there putting on a clinic on how to promote a movie at the same time at the Cannes Film Festival, they were determined to undermine everything he was doing.
In my country, we're fighting like hell for the democracy we once took for granted. And that affects all of us. Art embraces diversity, and that's why art is a threat. That's why we are a threat to autocrats and fascists.
It's always difficult when you're like the only black person in a cast or something like that, but unfortunately this is what it is.
I want people to be safe and to be protected, and I want very much to live on the right side of history.
Including the new poster girl for woke Hollywood, who was more than willing to steal that tiara from Rachel Zegler, Pedro Pascal. You know, that guy who called half the country Confederates and one faction of the bad guys from WW2. The most overexposed adult pretender in recent history. But we did get the answer to one question. We know why he gets all those roles. And he's going to be in two films in July, The Fantastic Four and Eddington, which according to Deadline is an explosive satirical neo-western that takes a big swing at MAGA culture.
They bought their tickets. They knew what they were getting into. I say, let them crash.
And despite the cultural shift, it's clear that Hollywood will never learn. Instead of taking inspiration from the last movie star Tom Cruise, who actually brings customers to movie theaters, they're going to favor Pedro Pascal, who drives them away. Listen, I'm no financial analyst or economist or expert producer or executive producer. I've been kicked out of 3 high schools and I'm functionally illiterate. But I do know that if you want more money to save a dying industry, what you need is customers. But as far as Hollywood becoming the next Detroit, well, I don't think that's very fair to Detroit, because I think it's well on its way to surpassing it, and we will soon have a day where there'll be people warning of becoming the next Hollywood. But as we slowly move away from a post-woke Hollywood to a mostly slop Hollywood era, there are some people who are trying, and I would like nothing better than a return to the classic Hollywood era, but I think we're past the point of no return, and when people refer to Hollywood, it will be in name only, and maybe they'll have a few offices there, but it looks like everything is just breaking up. And I think it would be good to have a decentralized or semi-decentralized entertainment industry as they prepare for the biggest battle of them all. One they are already losing, but they don't know it yet because they are up against their ultimate competition, you. At least until the AI becomes self-aware and enslaves us all. Tinseltown, you did it to yourself. And remember, Hollywood wasn't murdered, it committed suicide. You know, a couple years ago, I did a video called It's the End of Woke Hollywood as We Know It, and I feel fine, and now I think we can comfortably say it's the end of Hollywood as we know it, and we feel fine.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.